When we talk about billionaires and massive wealth, names like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, or Jeff Bezos are usually the first to pop into our heads. But that's honestly just the surface, right? What's way more interesting is if you actually hit billionaire status, what would your daily life really look like? In this video, I'm going to give you a solid, behind-the-scenes look at the true reality of living as a billionaire. And trust me on this, at certain points, becoming a billionaire might not even be the smartest choice, at least when you consider your personal life. We come from all sorts of backgrounds, working class, middle class, or maybe even the upper crust. But I honestly believe we share one super clear thing in common. We can afford our internet bill, and we can buy a smartphone. In other words, we're comfortably in the group of people who are doing well enough to just sit here, watch YouTube, and ponder concepts like massive wealth. I don't think people experiencing homelessness or those severely struggling with addiction are sitting around watching this video. So I'm going to set them aside and start talking about the group that makes up the majority of modern society, the middle class. These are the folks who work their tails off, go to the grind every day, and can afford their utility bills, rent, and groceries. They still have a pretty decent spiritual life, scrolling through TikTok, checking out YouTube, and getting a laugh from a few memes. Every now and then, they treat themselves to a pair of Nike Air Force Ones, some New Balance 990s, or maybe Adidas Stan Smiths. Not to show off, but just to feel like they're doing okay. At least until they open their banking app and check the balance. It's not a glamorous life, but it's relatively balanced. Of course, everything has its limits. You have to really think things over before grabbing that brand new iPhone. A vacation getaway needs some serious planning. A fancy steak dinner at a nice restaurant only happens for major occasions. And if you happen to get hit with appendicitis, you might have to completely wipe out your savings just to cover that $30,000 surgery. But hey, at least you're still kicking. All right, now let's put that life on the back burner for a minute, because this is where you step into the world of a genuine billionaire. At this level, the cash in your bank account is truly just the tip of the iceberg. But go ahead and enjoy the fact that you've got a couple of billion, maybe even hundreds of billions of dollars. And you can just drop that cash on literally anything you want. Yep, you pretty much own everything you could only dream of before. Houses everywhere, luxury cars, yachts, a private jet, and a premium service system ready to cater to you 24/7, even when you didn't actually ask for it. You can jet off anywhere in the world, at any time. No lines for you, no waiting. Everything is arranged even before you realize you need it. And let's be real. This is absolutely the coolest part of being a billionaire. But that feeling, it doesn't last forever. The moment money is no longer an issue, other things immediately take its place. When you're this wealthy, people seek you out not because you're a blast to be around, but because you wield influence. You're forced to build and maintain relationships just to protect your standing. And from there, you simply can't avoid politics. You're walking into the White House, sitting in rooms where people are discussing the future of an entire nation and meeting with politicians and policymakers. Mark Zuckerberg had to testify before the US Congress about Facebook. Bill Gates, even after leaving Microsoft, still constantly participates in government discussions about health, education, and climate change. Jack Ma famously vanished from the public stage after criticizing China's financial system. And here's the unavoidable truth. Even as a billionaire, you still have to understand the game, maintain ties with the government, and weigh every single word you say. Money gives you a voice, but it sure doesn't give you the right to stand outside the system. The next thing might sound totally messed up, but it makes complete sense. And it's the point where you actually work way more than almost everyone around you. I'm not talking about being busy for the sake of it. I mean busy in the sense that if you stop, an entire system behind you could seriously wobble. Elon Musk once admitted to periods where he was clocking over 100 hours a week, even sleeping on the factory floor at Tesla. Jeff Bezos is famous for reading hundreds of pages of documentation daily. And Bill Gates, during Microsoft's fastest growth years, barely had a concept of the weekend. He'd be reviewing reports even late at night. The key takeaway is this. They aren't working crazy hours because they need the cash, but because of the responsibility that comes with the scale of their assets. When you're a billionaire, every ignored email could involve tens of thousands of jobs. Every delayed decision could affect markets, shareholders, governments, or even an entire industry. You no longer have the luxury of just switching off carelessly. Even if you're chilling on your yacht, on a private island, or cruising in your private jet, your brain is still running nonstop. Figures, risks, policies, people. And then you realize something kind of painful. Being this rich doesn't mean getting more rest. It means you never truly get to clock out. And that's not even mentioning another pressure that's equally heavy: social responsibility. When you become a billionaire, you're not just richer than everyone else. You're constantly under scrutiny. Society expects you to contribute to the community, care about the environment, and speak up about clean water, healthcare, and education. It's not just about ethics anymore. It's become part of your powerful role. When Bill Gates commits tens of billions of dollars to his foundation, he still faces criticism about his motives and how the money is allocated. When Elon Musk talks about clean energy, people immediately scrutinize the emissions from Tesla and SpaceX. In this position, philanthropy isn't a matter of wanting to or not. It becomes an implicit duty where you are always being judged, no matter how well you do it. And here's another truly tough pill to swallow. Keeping this level of wealth is the real challenge. Elon Musk almost lost control of Tesla due to aggressive financial decisions and market pressure. Mark Zuckerberg has to constantly upgrade himself and pivot Meta out of fear of being left behind. Because of this, they are never truly alone. Surrounding them are lawyers, financial advisors, policy experts, and massive analytical teams. At this highest tier, you don't live by intuition or brute force anymore. You live by the system. At this level, you don't live for yourself as much as you think. It's not just about the money. It's about the pressure, the responsibility, and a world that operates totally differently. And finally, there's another side that few people talk about when it comes to being a billionaire: the loneliness that comes with a crippling obsession about trust. When you get this rich, you start questioning the motives behind every single relationship around you. It's not that you changed, but the money forces you to ask, do they actually care about me? Or do they care about what I own? At that pinnacle, making friends is no longer simple. The higher you climb, the fewer people dare to tell you the truth. Not because you're always right, but because telling a billionaire the truth is usually not beneficial. Marcus Persson, the creator of Minecraft, who became a billionaire after just one deal, once publicly talked about feeling empty and isolated, even while surrounded by parties, yachts, and celebrities. Getting rich doesn't bring more connections. It just highlights the silence when the party ends. The result is a familiar paradox. You always have people around, but you rarely ever truly have anyone. Lonely at the top isn't just a catchy phrase. For many billionaires, it's a constant state of living. This has really just been the most generalized overview I could pick out to talk about life as a billionaire. Behind all this, there are still countless unspoken truths, power struggles, deals that will never hit the headlines, and pressures that outsiders can barely even fathom. The world of the billionaire isn't just different in terms of money. It's different in terms of the rules of the game. And once you step into it, you simply cannot go back to the way things were. The question is no longer whether you want to be rich, but whether you are truly ready to live in that world. Comment below, would you want to be a billionaire?